Hi guys, so over the years I've struggled to accept if some people calling into radio shows like LBC, be it James O'Brien or other commentators, are actually real people, in the sense that they are prank callers, that they are deliberately trying to sound as extreme or as dumb as possible just for a laugh. So I add this one to the list. A Tory voter calling in to complain about how the British public, and I quote, have it in for the government during this time of crisis. She complains about her situation, but will continue to vote for the Conservative Party. Have a listen.
Hello, Margaret.
Hi, yes. Just very quickly,
Yeah.
I'm actually really very angry with the British public at the moment because most people seem to have got it into the government and the mess we're in. I don't think that's the truth. Any government would not have known how to have handled what we've been through over
You mean COVID, Margaret?
Well, it's COVID,
Yeah.
it's Brexit.
Yeah.
Well, wait a minute. It's COVID, it's Brexit. Okay, we'll get to Brexit in a moment, but it's COVID. So she's saying here that any government wouldn't know what to do when it came to the pandemic. Now, I don't know if she's talking about any government in the world. If it's about any government in the world, then that falls down immediately because different governments around the world dealt with the pandemic in different ways. Some did a worse job than Britain. Some did a better job than Britain. Now, she's talking about a Labour government versus a Conservative government. I don't think for a moment that the Labour Party would have been handing out contracts for PPE to their mates. Okay. I don't think they would have ignored British businesses that actually were ready to deliver PPE to the NHS because they hadn't donated to the Conservative Party or the Labour Party if that had been the case. So I don't believe that for a second. But there's also another problem here. When she says nobody could have predicted it or nobody could have known what to do. Back in 2016, in October 2016, there was something called Exercise Cygnus, and I recommend you check it out. In 2016, there was a war game played where the NHS and different agencies within government ran a sort of test to see if they would be ready to deal with the pandemic back in 2016. And the findings of that report were delivered to the government, and they said, look, we have PPE that is out of date. We have PPE that is not fit for purpose. We have insufficient material. To cut a long story short, if a pandemic arrived, we would not be prepared. And it gave its findings to the government and made recommendations, such as you need to buy new PPE, you need to invest in dealing with a pandemic if it arrives. And the response from the Tory government, now not Labour Party, Tory government at the time was to ignore it. And then in 2020 arrived the pandemic, and Boris Johnson, of course, ignored Cobra meetings and didn't take the whole thing seriously at the beginning. And then, well, the rest is history. Now, when it comes to Brexit, I don't know even how to respond to that. We don't actually have a universe that we could run to test if the Labour Party had won in 2019, but we can sort of speculate that they would have supported a second referendum, and it's likely that the second referendum would have resulted in the UK staying in the European Union, that Brexit would have been stopped. Now, as I said, we don't have a universe to test that. We can't be completely certain, but the polls sort of went in that direction. And also, if the Labour Party had been in power, even if there was a Brexit, even if there wasn't a second referendum, the type of Brexit that would have been delivered would have been somewhat different to what Boris Johnson and Theresa May had in store. Boris Johnson, actually.
Yeah.
It's the war in Ukraine. And one thing that's absolutely, I feel quite bitter about, really, I'm Conservative and I will vote Conservative again.
Yeah.
I know they're a bunch of arrogant whatnot, but
Yeah.
I do believe that they are the best out of a bad lot.
Right.
But there's
The best out of a bad lot. They're a bunch of arrogant whatnots. You know, no, I automatically go to James O'Brien's slogan or phrase or whatever you want to call it, saying, compassion for the conned, contempt for the con man. But at what stage does that compassion for people who have been conned run out?
Thing is, I didn't even qualify for furlough pay. And I had to go out delivering pizzas in my car and take a lodger in because I had no money coming in because I didn't qualify for anything from the government at all. Yet I'm still prepared to vote.
But you're still voting for them. That's loyalty, Margaret.
That's loyalty. I wouldn't call it loyalty. I'll call it something else. But this woman has suffered as a consequence of Tory party policies. And she's saying, yeah, I'm going to still go out and vote for them because they're the lesser of the two evils. Boris Johnson, who said, let the bodies pile high. Boris Johnson, who, while this lady was, I hope, following the rules, he was having a party. But for her, that's not important. I have to vote for the Conservative Party because, well, the Daily Mail told me that Keir Starmer is a socialist or something.
But the thing is, people have got to understand that this is worldwide.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
If people can't get their 2 holidays a year at the moment, and they're really sad about that, then, they really do need to shut up and think about the suffering that's going on in Ukraine.
Sorry, I don't understand what the suffering that's going on in Ukraine, how is that connected to the cost of living crisis? And she's saying, well, if people aren't going on holiday twice a year, then they have nothing to complain about. But that's not what the cost of living crisis is. It's not because people can't go on holiday twice a year, there's a cost of living crisis. The cost of living crisis is a bit more severe than not being able to go on holiday twice a year. People cannot feed their families. People cannot heat their homes. People are rejecting food from food banks because they can't frigging cook it. What planet is Margaret, I think her name is, what planet is she on? Does she not realise that her voting for the Tories means there are going to be more food banks, more poverty, not less? And the idea that she's criticising the people for criticising the government, it just blows my mind. Don't you dare criticise Boris Johnson. He's doing his best. Don't you dare criticise Rishi Sunak. He's done everything possible to help people struggling. Rishi Sunak, who recently filled up someone else's car with petrol because he wanted to look as if he was a man of the people. They're charlatans. They're crooks. They don't give a crap about you. You continue to vote for them, but they don't care about you. They never will. They haven't and they never will. And once again, I come back to the question at the very beginning. Are these people real? Is this a prank call? Is this somebody winding us up? I bloody well hope so. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.